Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the next video in the live conversation series with UiPath Aspirant. In this video, we are going to discuss about orchestrator. So recently I was being approached by an aspirant who wanted to know how exactly can we move a process from dev to NFT to production orchestrator, and in case there are some issues in the production robot, how actually do we go and debug and fix the process in production. Apart from that, in this live conversation we are talking about schedules, we are talking about environments, how we can trigger a job, how exactly is the kill and the stop differentiating, and other details. So in case if you want to know answers to this query, go ahead and watch this video. Also, in the same playlist I have videos such as where to start the RPA journey, which all courses to do, what are the different components you should know as an beginner, what are the different type of workflows, what are variables, argument, how do you use the control flow activities, what are selectors, what is difference between full versus partial selector, how do you create dynamic selectors, and all of this live conversation series are available in the channel. I'll put the link in the description and you can refer that. Also, in case you also want to have such live conversation with me, you can always drop me a note on the email ID which is mentioned in the description and we can take it forward. Having said that, let's get started. Okay, so tell me, what do you want to know and where should we start?
I need orchestrator, Mukesh. How to deploy into orchestrator and how we will run the bots and once if in production if we got the issue, how we
Hmm.
will resolve it.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so this is how the UiPath orchestrator looks like. Okay, so first of all, we have certain things. So do you want me to go through how exactly this thing works and how exactly we configure, or you are aware of some things?
I am aware of assets and process, Mukesh. In
Okay.
assets, actually, we will be creating the credentials. We will be storing the credentials and the text values in that.
That is okay, but do you know how does a orchestrator and this robot and the studio is connected? Okay, I'll quickly tell you. I'll quickly tell you what happens when we set up an orchestrator. Okay, so first of all, whenever you set an automation, the first thing, the see where exactly the robot will run when you run that automation in the production. Okay, so the first thing which you have to do is you have to add a machine. Okay, so for
Okay.
example, if your production machine, how it would have been set up, so first of all your IT guys would have gone and they would have added all the machines which are in the production, right? So for example, this is one production machine, this is second, so they will keep adding the machines. Okay, so in that machine, production machine, you will have one UiPath robot and one UiPath studio that will be only used for debugging purpose. Okay, so the first thing,
Okay.
when we come to orchestrator, we go and we add a machine like this. We just simply add the machine, and once the machine is added, so UiPath gives you a machine key like this. See, can you see it is a machine key
Yes.
available? Now what you do is you go to that machine, and in that machine you will have this guy installed, UiPath Assistant. In the UiPath Assistant, you go and you just pass that machine key in the setting. Okay, in the setting you will go and you will pass that machine key. Now what will happen whenever you trigger a robot from orchestrator? Okay, you will specify the machine and the robot will trigger in the machine where the machine key is specified.
Okay.
Okay, now the first thing in the orchestrator is we add a machine. So once the machine is added, UiPath asks you that if I just click on this one, right? So machine, if you'll go here, so once I added the machine, it has given the machine key. Now UiPath will ask that how many robots you want to give, how many robots you want to give. So for example, as of now, your every machine and every system has some licenses, right? So you can go to orchestrator and you can click here and you will click on licenses here, right? So as of now I am in automation cloud, so let me just click here and it will go to the automation cloud. Okay, so now everything you will have licenses. So for example, if you will look at my licenses, I have two unattended and one attended licenses, right? Similarly, for your production or the test orchestrator, you can go here and you can see that how many licenses you have. So let's say you have 5 licenses, out of which 2 are unattended and one is attended. So now the next thing UiPath orchestrator will ask you that how many licenses you want to allocate. So for this machine which you are seeing on the screen, I have allocated one unattended like this. Okay, so
Okay.
now what will happen is whenever a robot is running on this machine, it is going to run in an unattended mode. Okay, so the first thing, we add a machine, we allocate a license. Okay, so this thing is done,
Okay.
machine is added, and this thing is done. Now once, what happens when you deploy the robot? So the next thing is, okay, I'll come here. Now see, now as a developer, what you will do is you will write an automation in the UiPath Studio. Okay, so assuming that this is a fresh piece of automation, and let us just write a single piece of automation here. Let's say I will just put a write line. Okay, simple automation, assuming that this is
Yeah.
a big automation and anything is happening, I'll just try to answer your first question, that how do we deploy. Okay, so
Okay.
let us, assuming that, hello UiPath. So assuming that this is an automation which we have written, and this successfully, all everything, development, testing, everything is done. Okay, now as a developer, the first thing the developer will do, he will go here and he will publish the package. Okay, like this.
Okay.
Now when you publish the packet, so UiPath has two options, that do you want to publish it to orchestrator, or do you want to publish it in a local. We will talk about the local one in a later. Let me just go ahead and try to publish it to orchestrator. Now which orchestrator it will go, because how would this UiPath Studio know that I should go to this orchestrator, right? There should be a connection. So how does it
Yes.
knows? The connection is meant through the machine key and the URL which we have given to this UI robot. Okay, so now once I publish anything from my UiPath Studio, because since my machine key is already connected here, this package will go to this orchestrator. Which orchestrator? Where I have got the machine key from. Got it?
Yeah,
So
got it.
right, so like that way, if you will go to the studio, it says the published is pack process. What is the name of the process? Kill process. Okay, this is the name of the process. It is deployed. Now if I go to the orchestrator here, okay, now in the orchestrator you will see there is a tab of automations. Okay, in the
Okay.
automation, the first thing, so whenever UiPath sends you a packet, it is available as a packet, it is just lying in the orchestrator. You cannot directly run a packet. So what happens, once you publish it from the orchestrator, it will be lying as a nugget. It will be lying as a nugget here, so you cannot directly run. So can you see the kill process? If I go in the ad, you if I go to the ad, you won't see the kill process. So the first thing is, you whenever you publish the nugget to the orchestrator, the next part is you have to create a process out of the nugget. See, once you publish anything from orchestrator, okay, it will be available as a directly as a packet, right? So if I go to my workspaces, and if you will see in the automation, this is just in the my packages, you will see this is available as a package here, right? So the first thing, and can you see we have just published it 2 minutes ago, right? So the next thing is, what you have to do is you have to create a process, right? And how do you create a process? You can just simply go here, okay, and you just select that which packet you want to. So I want to create a process for this one, right? Now it will ask you that which version you want. So as of now, I only have one version, so I have used it. Okay, now if I
Okay.
just click on continue, okay, now it will ask me what is the name you want to display. So I will just give it a display name as kill process. Okay, and you can just give a description that like this. Okay, and you will create it. Okay, now a process is created for me. Okay, now if you go to the jobs, okay, now if you go to the jobs and you will click on this start, okay, like this, right? So do you understand the concept of environments first?
Yes, yes.
Right, so what is environment and what is robot?
In UiPath Studio, we will be creating the bot, and in
Mhm.
uh, here we will run the bot. From here we will run the processor bots.
No, no. So there is something called environment. So I'll tell you the concept of environment. So for example, you working in a IT company and you have different departments, right? Finance, HR, and different departments, right? So
Yes.
would you want that the finance robot and the finance processes to run on the HR robots, right? We would want the HR robots to be only working on the HR machines. right? So HR processes work on HR robots. If there are finance process, we want to run it only on the finance robots, right? So for that, what we do is we create something called environment. Okay,
Okay.
so what happens is every company will have separate environment, so that is a logical separation of the robots. So first thing is you create an environment. For example, I created an environment of sample environment, right? Now once you create an environment, you will assign that which all robots you want to assign to that environment. So for example, for this sample environment, you want this only one robot. So for example, if you are having 5 robots, so out of 5 robots, you can just check and uncheck like this, right? So for the sample environment, I have specified only one robot. Okay, now once robot is assigned to it, now the next part is whenever you create a process, you have to specify that what would be the environment. Okay, so now if I just go here, you will see in the process, okay, whenever you create a process, the first thing it will ask you the package name which you want to have on, right? And then there is something called environment. Okay, which
Okay.
environment you want to run the process and what is that thing. So whenever, let's say I have created this sample environment, okay, so if you will see my currency demo is tagged up to which environment. Let me just quickly show it to you this, then you will understand. Leave. So my currency demo is tied up to which environment? Sample environment.
Sample
Okay,
environment. Yes.
right. Now if I go to jobs and if I attempt to run a process now, okay, if I, so for example, if you are trying to run a process, now it will ask you which process you want to run. So I say I want to run the currency demo. Now if you will see in the robot, I am only getting one robot, right?
Yes.
So assuming that if I have 10 robots, so because I am tagged to this environment and this environment is having only one robot, that is why I am only getting one robot. Okay, you do not have
Okay.
option to run this robot on a different environment, different robots. So now do you understand the concept of environment and robot?
Yes.
Right, so what you will do, you will group the robots in environment. Okay, you will group,
Okay.
what you will do, you will group the robots in environment and then you will tag the process to the environment, and then once you go to the run, it will only show you the robots which are hooked to this environment. Okay, you
Okay.
cannot run it to any other environment. So now you would have seen whenever you now when you next time go to your orchestrator, right, just look for 3 things: look for environment, look for robots, and look for jobs.
Okay.
Okay, and you will notice that you would have different set of environments created. In the different set of environments like this, you will have different robots. Okay, and the processes are tagged to the environment. So that is why whenever you go and run a job like this, from here you will see only the robot which are hooked to that environment and not the other ones. Okay,
Okay.
now do you get answer to your up to this question, that how do you deploy to the dev orchestrator? Okay, so
Yes.
this is your dev orchestrator now, right? Now in an ideal situation, what happens is once you have a dev environment, then you have one more environment which is called the test, and one more environment which is called the production, or the
Production.
pre-prod and then the production, right? Now if your company is having a CI/CD pipeline, or or continuous integration, continuous deployment is enabled, then this nugget can be directly passed. But if it is not available, then what we do is you will just download this nugget. Okay, so every nugget has a nugget number, right? So what you will do is you will pass this nugget to the NFT manager. So there would be a testing manager, right? So
Yes.
the test, so what do you think, the testing orchestrator, the developer will have, he will have access or not to the testing orchestrator?
In some companies he will have the access, and
But
in some companies he didn't.
right, so if he is having, he or she is having the access, that access, the developer is having the access, then the developer will can directly go and deploy it, right? But most
Yes.
of the companies, they won't give that testing access to the developer, right? Otherwise developer can go and change the packet, change the asset, everything, right? So
Yes.
what they will do is they will ask the developer that tell me which nugget you want to deploy. Okay, so the developer will go and he will tell that, okay, I want you to deploy this nugget from the dev orchestrator. So you will go and the developer will give the process name and the version number, that which is the nugget number. So if you just go to the process, you will see for every of the, for every process there is a nugget number. So if you go to the packages, see, this is the hello world process, and if I just go to the view versions, every process this is a having a version 1.0.1,
Yes.
right? So the developer or the dev manager will tell the test manager that please go to the dev orchestrator and upload this nugget. Or what can happen, the developer just go here, once this is run, everything is running fine, you can go here, you can download the nugget. Okay, you can download the nugget from orchestrator. Once it is downloaded, the test manager will go to the packages like this, and he has an option of upload. Can you see?
Okay. Yeah,
Right?
yes.
And in the upload we have an option to select the nugget package. Okay, like this, where exactly is the located. Now if I just come back to the UiPath orchestrator, right? So once you deploy it from here, right, publish, so you have two options, I told you, right? One was to directly push it to the orchestrator like this. Okay, and if I just skip this, and one is the next is you can just select from, and you can just select custom. Okay, now
Okay.
you have to give is a path where you want to publish that packets, right? So let me just give it a desktop path. Inside desktop I have a temp folder, and I will just select this folder. Now what will happen is this nugget will be now pushed, and what is the version? See, you have an option to change the version. So the current is 1.1, let me just change it to 1.8, let's say. Okay, and you will publish it. Now once you publish it, it will be saved at my location which I have gave, right? This guy, kill
Yes.
process.nupkg. Now if you are a dev manager and if you are a testing manager, the next thing what you will do is you will go to the testing orchestrator. Okay, and here you will have an option to upload, and you will go here, simply you will go to the path, let's say desktop and temp, and you will just select the nugget and open and upload. Okay, now this will be uploaded successfully, right? Can you see now? If we have different versions, so now previously we have one version, now we have the different version available. Okay,
Yes.
so
Okay.
that is how you upload. Now the same concept applies to production also, right? So in the production, either you tell the production manager or the support team to get the nugget from the orchestrator. Okay, or you just download the nugget like this and you give them the nugget path. So you don't send the nugget via email or anything, you just keep it a shared location. The person will go to the shared location and upload the nugget like this. Okay, then you tell him that okay, I want this process to run on this robot. Okay, so robot A, B, C, D, which all process you want to run, he goes here and he create the process. Okay, so
Okay.
now does that answer your first question?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, now the next question is how do you deploy and run it from the orchestrator? Okay, so now in the beginning we have seen that we have two kinds of processes, attended and unattended process. Okay, so now if you will go to the automation, there is a section of jobs. Okay,
Okay.
so the processes, you understood that here we just create the process from the nugget and it will lie here. Okay, so now in the jobs what happen is now you have two options. One is to start a job here, right? So what I can do, I can always go here and I can select the process, I will select the robot and I will start the process, right? So now if I just start the process, it will execute on this robot, so it will send the command to this robot and it will start on this machine. Okay,
Okay.
now in the production what usually happens is whenever we create an unattended process, we always create a schedule. Okay, that what exactly is the schedule? For example, you might have a process which is supposed to run daily, you might have a process which is supposed to run weekly or monthly, right? So for that you always go and create a triggers.
Triggers. Okay.
Okay, so in triggers, if I'll go see, as of now I don't have any trigger, let's create a trigger. Okay, assuming that you have written an automation that is supposed to run on daily basis at let's say 11 a.m. So the first thing is it will ask you that what is the name of the trigger. So let's say I will call it as sample trigger. Okay, now it will ask you on which process you want to create a trigger. Okay, I say that I want to create a trigger on this process. Okay, now it will ask me that do you want to execute on all robots or specific robot? When I say specific robot, I would have to select the robot. Okay,
Okay.
and dynamic allocation, it will allocate dynamically. Now assuming that I have all robots, when you select all robots, what would happen is all the robots which are in this environment, sample environment, right? So we might
Okay.
have 4 robots, 5 robots, it will execute on any, it can execute on any robots. But think of a scenario that you are using an Oracle application, and the Oracle application is installed on only one robot and not on others. So in that scenario, you will go to specific robot and select the robot which is having that Oracle application. Otherwise it will fail, right?
Yes.
Right, so you just go to all robots, and you now here it will ask you that what is the frequency. So assuming that we want to execute it at daily, okay, and if you want to execute it weekly, you can have this option, like if you want to execute on Monday, Friday, Sunday, like this, you can select one. This is a simple thing, right? You can always go and check, uncheck. So let's say I want to execute it daily at, let's say, 11 a.m, okay, and I will go here and add it. Now what will happen, it will execute daily at 11 a.m. Can you see? In a
Yeah,
day.
yes.
And in a day it will automatically start, and it will come in the job span here. Okay, now
Okay.
sometime what would happen is this, assuming that tomorrow, let's say today is Thursday, Friday this robot was supposed to execute, and because of some exception it got an error. Okay, so when you come to the jobs, you will see that error here, right? So let me just go ahead and create a trigger. Okay, we'll do one thing. We will just execute this to every 1 minute. Okay, so now
Okay.
this process will execute 1 minute. So I have created a trigger that it is going to execute in 1 minute. So if you go to the jobs, you will see as of now I don't have any jobs, right? Because we are not
Yes.
executing anything. But if you go to the trigger, it will say that when is the next run. So it is saying that it is going to run
Near
in
future.
next seconds, right? Similarly, in your orchestrator, in your company orchestrator, you can go and triggers and see what is the time they are scheduled. Okay. So now in few seconds, what will happen is this trigger will execute, and in which environment it will execute, in this environment, and in which robot which we have specified. Okay, so
Yeah.
now
Okay.
in few seconds this will execute, and this whatever the process is running, that is called a job. Okay, so that job will be visible here. So as of now, if you'll see, I don't have nothing, right? So now can you see, we have got,
Yeah, yes.
and the state is pending because that robot is not available. Okay, now for some reason, assuming that, now see, as an support guy or as an monitoring person, you have two option. Now you have certain option, I would say. You can stop the process, you can kill the process. Okay, if you stop the process, it will stop the process gracefully. So there is a thing called should stop that the developer usually put in their process. Okay, so if you click on stop, it will gracefully close the application. But if you kill the process, it will abruptly kill the process. So for example, you encounter a scenario where you see that, okay, by looking at the logs, that it is doing something different. So you always has an option to kill the process. So I have killed and
Okay.
it has stopped, right? So this is one way of executing the process. Now something went wrong on the process. Now the business tell you, okay, hey, now I want you to re-trigger the process. But now you will say that your next trigger, let me just disable. So assuming that this trigger was weekly, right? So you can't tell the business to wait for 1 week, right? So you should have some option, right, to re-trigger the job. That option is this guy. Okay,
Okay.
you can, so assuming that this trigger is now for a weekly basis, Monday it executed and Monday it got failed. Now the business tell you that, hey, I want you to execute it again, right? You can't say to business that, okay, now just wait for the next Monday, because that will be a long time. So as an as an access to the orchestrator, you has an option to click on this button, and you can manually run the process like this,
Okay.
and you can start it. Now the only difference is in the jobs, right? You can see the source would be manual.
Yes.
So do you understand it now? I'll kill
Yeah,
it again.
yes.
Okay, so this is how you take care of the jobs. Right now, for every job which you execute, there is something called logs. The logs are generated. So as of now, I have not included any logs, but when we do a complex process, we always have logs. So you can always come to here, visit the logs, and see what went right, what went wrong with the process. Okay,
Okay.
okay, does it answer your this question also?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, now let us move to a third question, that how do you resolve an issue in the production? Okay, so assuming that this process which we are doing, and assuming that uh, this process, what we were looking at, the hello world process has encountered some exception. Let's say selector changed, right? The selector for the application has changed. Now how would you change the selector? So every production machine will have this guy, assistant,
Yes.
and you will have UiPath Studio also installed, right? So similarly, you uploaded a nugget to the orchestrator, right? You already uploaded a nugget, right? In the packages,
Yes.
we
In the
uploaded the
package.
nugget, right? So similarly, we have an option to download the nugget also. Okay. So you have
Okay.
an option to upload and you have an option to download the nugget also. So what you can do is you can come to the orchestrator into processes and let me just go to the view version, and you can see we have an option to download the package,
Done.
right?
Okay.
So now think this is my production machine. Okay, so I'll go to the production machine, I will click on the download package. Okay, it will download the nugget for me. Okay, I will go to show in folder, right? So now if you will see, this is NUPKG, right? How would UiPath know it? So if you have to just go here, rename this to, okay, so what you have to do is to get the code out of the nugget, I'll tell you, you have to change it to .zip like this. Okay,
Okay.
and then you have to open it, and inside the lib and the net45 you will have the entire code for UiPath. Okay, now you can
Yeah.
just double click on it and it will open the solution in the UiPath Studio. Okay, like this, and then you can see the selector,
So
validate, you can use the this UI
debug
Explorer,
option. Yes.
debug option, everything. And now you will not publish the nugget from here. Okay, you will never publish the nugget from the production machine to the production orchestrator. Then you will again go by the cycle of testing the nugget, and you might do something while debugging wrong, right? So this is just to
Yes.
debug. So
Okay.
this is how you debug and resolve the issues on once you get that issue in the production.
Okay.
Okay, got it. Anything else? Now
Yeah,
where
got it.
exactly the assets and all comes in picture? You know the assets, right? So assets are whenever
Yes.
you want to have some value that you think might change or uh, keep changing. So you can just create an asset like for credential and everything. So for example, if password is changing, you can just store that password here and all those things.
After creating the asset here, how we will use it in UiPath Studio?
Okay, so for example, I have created an asset called Acme credential. Okay, so this
Okay.
credential, this is holding my password for something, right? So if I just show you, see, I do not have option to see it, right? But I can use it in orchestrator. So assuming that this is my studio, in here you have an activity called get credential. Okay, so
Okay.
you have an activity called get credential like this. Okay, so in the get credential, it will ask you for the asset name. Okay, so what is my asset name? If I go here, I will
Acme
just
credentials.
Acme credential like this. So I will pass to here, and if I go to the properties, okay, it will, this is the input and the output is user ID and the password. So I may, let me create two variables called username, and I will create a variable for password also. Okay,
Okay.
username and password. Okay, it has stuck, and for here I will click like this password. So if you'll go in the variables, it will have created two variables for me. One is the username and the password. Now once you get this username and the password, you will use these variables in the further part of the process. Okay,
Okay.
so this is how it works, that once you have this user ID, username and the password, now let's say you want to have this user ID and the password to type somewhere, assuming that you have to type it in a browser, right? So you would use a type into activity, and in the type into activity, you will point it to where
We
you
will
want to
pass
type,
the post.
and you will pass the
Yeah.
variable like
Okay.
this. Got it?
Okay. Yeah, got it. But
Yeah. Hmm.
here we are having the get password also. No? Then why we are using assets in that area in orchestrator? Why we are storing in orchestrator?
So assuming that this automation is already deployed in production, okay, right? Acme thing. Now the credential changes. Where would you change?
In orchestrator assets in
Yeah,
assets we will change in the
right. Here you will go here and you will edit and you will change,
edit.
right? You don't need to change the
Yes.
automation.
Yes.
Got it? So for
Got it.
example, if tomorrow my password changes, I have to come to this asset and I will click on update, right? But there is a concept of CyberArk. Just when you go back, just read about CyberArk. Okay,
Okay.
read something about CyberArk. Okay, so what happens in the CyberArk is that all these passwords are stored in the CyberArk. So CyberArk, you can think, is a an entity which dynamically generates the password, and this password never expires. So you don't have to manage this password like this. Okay, so if you will see here,
Okay.
whenever you create an credential asset, you have an option that where you want to store. So there are two options whenever you see in the production. One is the orchestrator database and another is the CyberArk. So once you select CyberArk, you don't have to provide the password. It automatically generates a password and provide it to this guy. So just read about CyberArk. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, Mukesh.
Okay, then we are good to close.
Yeah, sure.
I hope
Thank you,
you
Mukesh.
find it helpful, right?
Yeah, helpful, sir.
Yeah.
Helpful, Mukesh.
Yeah. Okay. If you face anything, you can just contact me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mukesh.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah.